It's nice to be connected again, and thank you for joining us for the Dental Board of California quarterly board meeting. My name is Dr. Thomas Stewart, and I am the president of the board. Today is Friday, December 4, 2020. This board meeting is being held via WebEx. Pursuant to the provisions of Governor Newsom's Executive Order N2520, dated March 12, 2020, neither a public location nor teleconference locations are provided for this meeting. For all those who wish to participate, please log on to the WebEx website provided on the posted agenda for this meeting. Instructions to connect to the meeting are provided on the agenda. The preferred audio connection is via telephone conference and not the microphone and speakers on your computer. The phone number and access code will be provided as part of your connection to the meeting. Since this meeting is being conducted via WebEx, I will ask all board members and speakers to announce themselves by name before speaking for clarity of the official record. All board members are able to unmute themselves to speak during the meeting. Please place yourself back on mute when not speaking to reduce background noise for all participants. When making a motion, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom right of the WebEx screen so board staff can identify a motion and a second. Following such online meeting etiquette will ensure the best audio quality for everyone. During each call for comments from board members and speakers, we will ensure that all comments that can be accommodated are heard before proceeding with the agenda. The board will be taking a 15-minute break in the morning, a 30-minute lunch break estimated to occur between noon and 12:30, and another 15-minute break following in the afternoon. This is an official business meeting of the Dental Board of California. The board welcomes public comments on any item on the agenda, and it is the board's intent to ask for public comments prior to the board taking action on any agenda item. The DCA moderator will explain the process for providing public comment shortly. When called upon, the moderator will unmute the microphone of the individual, and they will have 2 minutes to make public comment. The moderator will audibly announce when 30 seconds remain to conclude the public comment. After the 2 minutes have lapsed, the individual will be placed back on mute. Only one public comment per agenda item is allowed per attendee. Depending on the number of people who would like to testify on a particular agenda item, a total time limit may be imposed. We ask all speakers to please stay on topic and not repeat testimony already provided. If you agree with the testimony already provided, please just state your name and that you are in support of any comments previously provided. I would now like to ask the DCA moderator to please explain how public comments will be taken during this WebEx meeting.
Good morning, this is the moderator of the meeting. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature. When the board reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, the question and answer feature, which we also call Q&A, will be turned on, and members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment by inserting the phrase, "I would like to make a comment," into the question box, which is typically located in the lower right corner of your screen. I will then call on the individual and unmute their microphone. The individual will have 2 minutes to make their comments, at the conclusion of which I will mute your microphone again. And then we will move on to the next member of the public who has a comment. Please note that the question and answer feature is being used only as a means for the members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. This is not a means to ask questions of the moderator or members of the board. Such inquiries submitted using this feature will not be answered. When asking your question, please make sure the question is directed at the host in the dropdown. Also, if any attendees utilize a profane name, they will not be called upon to prevent members of the public from being subject to profane language. While you are free to express criticism or negative views, for the sake of the members of the public participating on the call, please do not use profane language when making public comments to the board. I will provide a brief reminder of this approach at the start of each public comment item. Finally, when the board members or senior staff are not speaking, I would like to remind them to mute their microphone. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will either interject with a brief friendly reminder, or if it is an inopportune moment for me to do so, I will simply mute your microphone myself. So I would also remind that before speaking, ensure that your microphone has been unmuted. And with that, I will transfer the back over to Dr. Stewart.
Thank you. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask the board secretary to please call the roll.
Good morning. This is Joanne Pacheco, board secretary, and I will now call the roll. Burton?
Burton present.
Burton present. Felsenfeld?
Felsenfeld here.
Felsenfeld present. Lai?
Lai here.
Lai present. Laren?
Laren here.
Laren present. Mackenzie?
Mackenzie here.
Mackenzie present. Medina?
Medina here.
Medina present. Mendoza?
Mendoza here.
Mendoza present. Molina?
Molina here.
Molina present. Montel?
Montel here.
Montel present. Morrow?
Morrow here.
Morrow present. Alagi?
Alagi present.
Alagi present. Pacheco present. Stewart?
Stewart present.
Stewart present. You
present.
You present. Board President, a quorum has been established. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 2, discussion and possible action regarding July 24, 2020, August 14, 2020, and October 9, 2020 dental board meeting minutes. Are there any board member discussions? And please remember to use the raise hand feature. I'm seeing no raised hands. Is there a motion and a second?
Patty, in motion to accept minutes.
And I see Fran's hand as well.
Fran and Dr. Morrow have their hands raised.
Fran?
Okay. Are you taking these separately or are you taking them as a group?
Well, since I saw there was no discussion, I think we can take them as a group.
Okay. Then I would like to move the meeting minutes for July 24th, August 14th, and October 9th.
Thank you, Fran. And the second was by?
I saw Dr. Morrow first.
Okay, Dr. Morrow.
This is Morrow. This is Morrow. I second the motion.
Thank you.
Dr. Stewart, I see Dr. Yu's hand still raised.
Dr. Yu, do you have a question or do you just need to take your hand down?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Are there any board member comments? Seeing none, are there any public comments? DCA moderator, could you please facilitate the lines for public comment?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel for public comment. If you would like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field, and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests at this time, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Thank you. Board Secretary, will you please call the roll and record the votes for this agenda item?
I will now call the roll for agenda item number 2, dental board meeting minutes, July 24th, August 14th, and October 9th to be accepted as written. Motion by Burton, seconded by Morrow. Burton.
Burton, aye.
Burton, aye. Felsenfeld.
Felsenfeld, aye.
Felsenfeld, aye. Lai.
Lai, yes.
Lai, aye. Laren.
Laren, aye.
Laren, aye. Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie, aye. Medina.
Medina, aye.
Medina, aye. Mendoza.
Mendoza, aye.
Mendoza, aye. Molina.
Molina abstain.
Molina, abstain. Montel.
Montel, aye.
Montel, aye. Morrow.
Morrow, aye.
Morrow, aye. Olagi.
Aye.
Olagi, aye. Pacheco, aye. Stewart.
Stewart, aye.
Stewart, aye. You.
You, aye.
You, aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
And thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 3, public comments on items not on the agenda. Are there any public comments on items not on the agenda? DCA moderator, could you please facilitate the lines for public comment?
This is the moderator. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Type, "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Our first request for comment comes from Gary Pickard. Gary, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you very much. My name is Gary Pickard. I'm the Senior Director of Government and Industry Affairs for Pacific Dental Services. I didn't see this. I apologize. I was just going through the agenda. But is the board going to be looking at or discussing the concept of dentists being able to provide the vaccine? Board?
This is Karen Fisher, Executive Officer of the Dental Board. Thank you, Mr. Picard, for your questions, but you'll realize that the moderator mentioned this is an opportunity for public comment, and so it's likely that you're not going to be engaging the board in a discussion about this issue. At this point, we do not have it on the agenda for a future meeting.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. If I could just add one more comment then. The American Dental Association has added language recently regarding dentists being able to provide vaccines throughout the country. In California, there's some incongruity in the language that California has versus what the ADA has in their toolkit. I would ask that the dental board review that at their discretion if they feel it's important to look at the incongruity and then try to reconcile it. Specifically as it relates to CLIA waived labs, the identification that dentists, as ADA states, can provide those, yet the state rules requires a lab director to be someone other than a dentist. And that concludes my comments. Thank you very much.
Our next request for comment comes from Jerry Fowler. Jerry, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, this is Jerry Fowler. So I don't know if they're going to be discussing this on the board, possibly, but it's regarding the RDA EF exams, the practical exams. And I know that the last group here have been unable to have a site to take the practical exam. What I'd like to make the comment about is that those that have graduated, they are unable to practice on live patients because they're not licensed. And the live patient component of that exam obviously is not being offered. So when COVID lifts and they offer the exam again, these candidates are going to be at a major disadvantage, that they are unable to practice, and then they're going to be allowed to take the exam, and chances are the fail rate's going to be even higher. So what I'd like to see is it to go the type dot route as the Western Regionals have done. And I understand that tissue management obviously is an option, or an issue. But Western Regionals, they also had the live patient component before with the periodontal scaling, and they have done a workaround on that, probably addressing that on the written. And also I'd like to suggest that most offices are doing digital impressions now
30 seconds.
as it is. So just to wrap it up, I'd like to see that put on the agenda that we could go at least temporarily the typodont, have a typodont board only for the EFs. Then they could practice on typodonts. Thank you.
Dr. Stewart, at this time, we have no additional requests for comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Thank you. And now we will now move on to agenda item 4, the board president's report. And what I'd like to say this morning is it has certainly been a privilege and my pleasure to work over these past 8 years serving our consumer public and focusing on public protection as our highest priority. I have greatly appreciated the opportunity to work with both my board colleagues and our dental board staff and executive team. We have certainly stretched our comfort zone over this last year and embraced the virtual meetings, which have enabled us to keep moving forward with our mission. I am delighted to have our newest members with us today, and reading their bios, I am confident that our board will continue to collaborate and work hard to ensure the public's trust as we carry out our duties. And I know that the background on with both Mark and Sonia is very extensive and I think will be a great benefit to the dental board moving forward. I know that we sent out the bios, so I'm not going to read them because I'm sure you already have, but I am going to give each of them a 2-minute window to share with us whatever thoughts they might have. You know, in Kiwanis, when we have a new member, we give them a 2-minute fine-free opportunity to speak in front of our group. So I'm going to ask Mark first to maybe introduce himself, tell us a little something about himself that he might like us to know, and then we'll move to Sonia. So Mark and Sonia, let me just add a very nice welcome to you both, and I look forward to seeing you work with the board in the future. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our new member, Mark Mendoza.
Thank you, President Stewart. Good morning, everyone. Again, Mark Mendoza, the newest public member to the board. I'm so excited to get to know everybody and learn more about the issue area over the course of my appointment. You know, obviously we had day 1 yesterday with closed session, and I was just so impressed by the robust and informative conversations that this board has. And I'm, again, very, very excited to work with everyone moving forward. Just a little bit about me. Currently, I'm the manager of state and local government affairs for Cisco. I manage the Western region of the United States. And actually have experience in licensing policy. Prior to this appointment, I actually worked in Senate Business and Professions as a consultant for a few years, handling primarily non-health boards. So have a little bit of understanding of the DCA processes and the board processes as well. So again, I'm just so excited that Governor Newsom's appointed me to this position and looking forward to continuing to ensure that consumer protection is paramount for the board. So thank you, President.
Thank you, Mark, for those comments. Sonia, would you like to say a few words?
Yes. Thank you, President Dr. Stewart. Yes, my name is Sonia Molina. I'm an endodontist in the city of Downey. I have been practicing for 29 years and counting. I was appointed to the Committee of Dental Auxiliaries in 2003 by then Governor Davis, which was a committee of the California Dental Board. So I'm somewhat familiar with the meetings and the procedures, and I'm very excited to now be part of the board and be a member that will be serving the governor to make sure that our constituents are being protected and represent our community in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, for those comments, and thank you both. And again, welcome. Now, are there any board members? I'm sorry? Are there any board member comments? Seeing none, are there any public comments?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Type, "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing none at this time, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
We will now move on to agenda item 5, the Executive Officer's Report.
Good morning, everyone. This is Karen Fisher, Executive Officer of the Dental Board of California. We have breaking news to report regarding COVID. Last night, late, we received notification that in response to Governor's discussion yesterday, effective Monday, December 7th, the state office, our office, will be closed to the public. So today, our managers are not only monitoring our meeting here, but also trying to make the appropriate arrangements to ensure that we can continue to do business during this time, and also trying to make everybody safe at the same time. We are considered an essential function, and we deal with public safety and regulatory enforcement. So we will have a skeleton crew of support staff in the office, rotating in the office. So we'll have somebody here every day to be answering phones and dealing with the mail, but no public will be allowed into our building. And this will hold up essentially for at least 3 weeks. We will keep you notified as we get additional information. During this 9-month period, we have been very aware of safety measures for our employees. We have instituted the requirement to be wearing masks, social distancing, and hand washing. And we rely on our employees to continue to follow these guidelines even while they're home. Daily, we continue to receive notices from the Department of Consumer Affairs Office of Human Resources regarding test positive cases for employees. So this is very real. We're very aware of it. And so we will be monitoring this as we continue to move forward to try to keep everybody safe, while at the same time trying to fulfill our responsibilities to protect the public and do our regulatory functions. The next item I would like to mention is our personnel report. And during this time, we currently have a 19% vacancy rate, which is high based on our authorized position count of 84 positions. Typically, the vacancies are attributed to a number of retirements, transfers to other departments, promotional opportunities, and at present, the executive team is fully staffed. Our administrative services unit is fully staffed. The anesthesia unit has 1 vacancy. the licensing and examination unit has 2 vacancies. The dental assisting unit has 7 vacancies. Our investigative analysis unit has 2 vacancies. Complaint and compliance has 1 vacancy. Discipline coordination is fully staffed. Our Sacramento field office has 1 vacancy. Our dental consultants are fully staffed, and the Orange office has 2 vacancies. We continue to aggressively recruit and interview candidates to fill vacancies, and we are expecting that soon we will get our vacancy rate down to a more historical level of 12% by the first part of 2021. My next report will be on the Cures alert. Board members should have received a blast, an email blast, indicating that there was an alert posted regarding the Cures system. For those dentists who write scripts, it's important to know that the reporting requirements for Cures are a little more stringent starting January 1st of 21. The biggest, I think, issue surrounding Cures is that as of January 1st, 2021, only California Controlled Substances prescription forms will be considered valid and accepted by pharmacies. So it's taken a little over a year for this to essentially get straightened out because there weren't enough secured printers out there. But hopefully any dentists that are going to be writing scripts now have obtained the proper substance prescription form. You're going to be hearing later on in the meeting today about going paperless. The board did vote to move in this direction, and we're starting to send messaging out to employees. And so you'll hear a further update as we continue through the board meeting. Want to talk a little bit about our meetings that are scheduled for 2021. The board staff anticipates that until a COVID vaccine is widely distributed, that all meetings will continue. I'm sorry? That all meetings will continue to be conducted via WebEx, at least through the first 6 months of the year. So at the July meeting this summer, board members voted on the following dates for 2021. They'll be February 25 and 26, May 12 and 13, August 19 through 20, and November 18 and 19. And of course, I reserve the right to work with our president if we need to add additional special meetings for certain situations that might arise. I did want to bring to your attention that the May meeting is traditionally scheduled around the California Dental Association meeting in Anaheim, and that those dates are Wednesday, Thursday. And I understand that there will be no in-person meeting this year for CDA, and that the meetings may be virtual and continuing education classes may be offered throughout the week. So at this point, I'd like the board to consider whether or not you want to keep the dates Wednesday, Thursday, or whether you'd prefer to move it to Thursday, Friday. So I'll just ask for your consideration of that, and we can discuss that at a future board meeting. What is our standard policy at the end of the year after the elections occur, which will occur at the end of the meeting today? The incoming board president and I will be looking at committee assignments. So within the next week, I'll be sending out an email to all board members outlining what committees are available and asking you to send an email back to me requesting assignments to certain committees. We have an anesthesia committee, access to care, enforcement, examinations, licensing, certifications and permits, legislation regulations, and the Substance Use Awareness Committee. The committees meet only when there are action items to consider. So again, I'll be sending out that notice. There's no need to reply before I send out the notice. And the incoming president and I will work toward those assignments as soon as possible. I wanted to let everybody know that it's very important for board members to participate in our meetings, to come to the meetings prepared. If there are any questions about the meeting materials prior to the meeting, you are always welcome to call me or the Assistant Executive Officer, Sarah Wallace, and we'd be happy to walk you through certain agenda items to make it more clear. This is probably never more important before as it is now, because we have 6 board members whose term expires January 1st of 2021. 3 members are not eligible for reappointment, and those are Fran Burton, who's a public member appointed by the Senate, and Drs. Ross Lai and Tom Stewart, who are both practicing dentists appointed by the governor. Our hope is that these 3 members will continue to serve a grace period before they are replaced. There are 3 members that are eligible to serve a grace year. They have been notified, and hopefully they have filed an application with their appointing authority to continue to serve on the board. These 3 members, their term also officially expires January 1st of 2021. And these members are Abigail Medina, who is a public member appointed by the Assembly, Rose Olagi, who is the RDA member of the board, and Joanne Pacheco, who is the RDH member of the board. And then there's Dr. Laren, who is a practicing dentist, who all 3 were appointed by the governor. Again, I'm hopeful that these members will agree to serve an additional term and file the application with the governor's office as soon as possible if they haven't already done so. And hopefully they will be reappointed and will continue to serve. I just wanted to let the board know that we were notified by the representative from Moldova Dental School, and as you know, through the sunset legislation, essentially there were important changes that were made to the board's approval of foreign dental schools. And as of January 1st, 2020, the board no longer has the approval authority for foreign dental schools. There seems to be some confusion as to the 2 dental schools that have been approved and when their approval goes away. The legislation supersedes any decisions that the board had made prior to that. So in essence, both schools have to graduate their students prior to January 1st of 2024 in order for those students to be able to be considered having graduated from a board-approved school. So I will continue to work with the dental schools to ensure their messaging to students, incoming students into their programs. So essentially effective January 1st of this year, all foreign dental schools are required to go through the quota process should they choose to do so. We were also contacted by the California Registered Nurse Anesthetist, CANA organization. As many of you know, they are interested in receiving some sort of licensure or permit from the dental board to be able to administer anesthesia in dental offices. These 2 issues will likely have legislation coming up, and we will discuss these issues, both the foreign dental schools and the California Registered Nurse Anesthetist, at a future meeting. And excuse me while I'm looking at 4,000 sheets of paper, 2 screens, and 2 phones at the same time, but I think that concludes my report. Are there any questions? And it looks like Dr. Morrow has his hand raised. Dr. Morrow?
Yeah. Karen, I just want to take this opportunity and I think to express my appreciation, and I think also the entire board's appreciation for your leadership, your administrative leadership, and the fantastic job that the board has been doing during these trying times. And I understand that there is, we all have difficulties in managing the changes that we've had to implement in the way that we do business. But I just want to say that I really appreciate the way that you have managed under these trying times. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Morrow. As you know, you all are family, and we are all family, and it's been awesome how everybody has supported each other, and I do appreciate that. Thank you. Are there any questions, any other questions or comments from board members about my report? Are there any public comments? DCA moderator, can you please facilitate the lines for public comment?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Stewart, we're ready to move on to the next item. Dr. Stewart, are you ready to move on to the next item? Your line is muted.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was speaking. We will now move on to agenda item 6, Dental Hygiene Board of California activities. I believe we have Dr. Martinez and Mr. Anthony Lum to provide their report, and thank you.
Good morning, Mr. President, board members, and staff. I'm Dr. Timothy Martinez, the Dental Hygiene Board President, and participating with Anthony Lum, the board's executive officer, who's also on the call to report the Dental Hygiene Board activities to you. In these unprecedented times with the pandemic continuing, we continue to adjust our work routines to where a majority of staff telework and rotate into the office to maintain the open counter for the public. Staff has transitioned well to the schedule and teleworking as we envision it will continue through early to mid-2021. We've done our best to inform the public, applicants, licensees, educators, and stakeholders of the latest pandemic information affecting dental hygiene by posting links and information on our website to agencies that can help. Dental hygienists have voiced many concerns in providing their services during the pandemic. Some have been critical in the change to use manual techniques rather than power tools like the ultrasonic scaler to inhibit the creation of aerosols, which could enhance the spread of the virus should it become airborne. The board informs these licensees that it's a good decision to resort to manual techniques to protect both providers and patients rather than risk everyone's safety. We haven't heard too many issues with dental practices that are unable to obtain the necessary PPE supplies that was occurring a few months ago. Also, we encourage them to follow all CDC, public health, and OSHA guidelines and the extensive use of PPE for protection. So far, it seems that the safeguards put in place since dental practices have reopened are working to protect the consumer, practitioner, and office staff despite the increase in reported COVID cases. We've been busy since our last report with a focus on the following. Number 1, board meetings. We've now conducted 3 meetings through WebEx, and in using the system, we've improved public meeting participation immensely. We received positive feedback from stakeholders and interested parties that using this method has made the meetings more accessible and transparent. Although the pandemic put a damper on in-person meetings, the teleconferences have had a positive impact in improving meeting participation. At our November 21st, 2020 board meeting, we approved revised regulatory language, reviewed newly presented statutory language to assist with board operations, approved meeting dates for 2021 and 2022, and voted to maintain the slate of board officers for the coming year. I'm remaining as president. Nicolette Moultrie, RDH, will continue as vice president, and public member Gary Shade will be the secretary. Item number 2, regulations. We continue to work on promulgating new regulations and identifying the need to revise existing regulatory sections as needed. Most of these are continuing in the regulatory process since our last report, with several departmental and agency reviews prior to moving forward to the Office of Administrative Law for approval. Item number 3, educational programs. Site visits to dental hygiene educational programs for 2020 were postponed due to the pandemic. We hope the situation with the pandemic improves to where we can resume our review of these programs in 2021. For the class of 2020 dental hygiene students who were locked out from school closures due to the pandemic, most were able to complete their curriculum, as many of the dental hygiene educational programs were able to reopen the clinics so they could finish the required clinical hours. A few schools remained closed, and those schools didn't accept a fall cohort, so they could have their existing students complete their requirements. Wet laboratory waiver update. The temporary approved wet laboratory waiver is set to expire at the end of December unless it is amended and extended after review by the administration. The waiver allows students to complete their biomedical science prerequisite coursework online without a wet laboratory, so they can obtain science credit for those courses as deemed acceptable by the educational institution for entry into the dental hygiene program. We anticipate that the waiver will be extended to accept distance laboratory learning for entry into dental hygiene programs because of the closed college campuses throughout the state. Alternative examinations for licensure. At our August 29, 2020 board meeting, the board voted to temporarily accept mannequin-based clinical examinations in addition to the patient-based exams for licensure. The approval window to accept the mannequin exams as administered by REB Credits and ADEX is from August 29, 2020 through March 31, 2021. Further analysis by the DCA Office of Professional Examination Services will commence and be brought to the board at our March 2021 board meeting to consider whether to continue the acceptance of the mannequin exams for licensure. Item number 4, personnel. We continue to fill our vacant positions to address the board's work. We've interviewed for our citation and fine position, so hopefully that will be filled soon. We've also been appointed 2 new board members. Carmen Jones was appointed by Governor Newsom as the new RDH educator member, replacing Michelle Hurlbut, who was termed out of this year. Her background is that she graduated in 2004 from West Los Angeles College Dental Hygiene School and began teaching dental hygiene there in 2006 while working in private practice. She currently serves as the dean at West LA College, where she implemented the baccalaureate pilot program in dental hygiene. She earned her doctorate degree in educational leadership in 2020 from Cal State Northridge and serves as a mentor to students and faculty. Denise Davis, who was appointed as a public member by the Senate Rules Committee, is the mayor pro tem for the city of Redlands. She was elected to the Redlands City Council in 2018 and has spent her career working full-time in higher education. She earned her master's degree in social and cultural psychology from the London School of Economics while there as a Rotary International Scholar in 2008. Denise graduated with her BA from the Johnston Center for Integrative Studies at the University of Redlands in 2006. She's also a graduate of Emerge California, is passionate about women's participation in government at every level, and serves as the director of Women's Resource Center at UC Riverside. We look forward to working with both of them in addressing board business. Item number 5, new office. The plans for our office move has been revised to where it's anticipated that we'll move into the new space. Our new office is across the hall from your enforcement unit where the physical therapy board once resided. This concludes my report, and I want to thank you all for the continued efforts to collaborate on dental issues with us. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Are there any board member comments?
This is Dr. Ross Lai. I have one comment, please.
Yes, Ross.
Dr. Martinez, nice to hear from you again. I just have a few questions as far as the REB exam. What was the number of participants this year? I participated with the DERP, and we were just getting all the numbers together. And two questions came up were if one, dental hygiene will be continuing with the dental hygiene examination through REB, I know REB or ADEX, and if, number two, if the dental hygiene objective would follow the DH OSCE, OSCE in the future, objective structure clinical examination.
Yes, Anthony Lum, I'll have chime in here, please. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. President and board members. Hi, Dr. Lai.
Hi, how are you doing, Tom?
Oh, good. In regards to your questions about the exams, currently, according to the schedule from all examiners, exam administrators, REB, credits, and ADEX, I believe to date there's only been like 5 administrations if the schedules are accurate. I don't know if any of them have been rescheduled or what have you.
5 total exams? Is that 5
yeah,
total
that
exams?
and that's what I found, and that's since the end of August. So that was the statistics that I could find off of each of their websites. And as far as continuation to have these mannequin exams move forward, what the board actually requested was to have us and OPES do an evaluation. We were hoping to do it prior to our November meeting. We just had our board meeting in the middle of last month, and there really wasn't much statistical data to present to the board. So it's pulled until our March meeting, where I'm hoping that there'll be more exam administrations where statistics can be forwarded to OPES for a review. And then at that time in March, the board will consider whether to continue the approval of the mannequin exams, because they only approved at the end of August at our board meeting, they only approved the mannequin exams. They did not approve the OSCEs.
I see.
That was partly because there really wasn't a lot of time to evaluate those exams, and board members felt that there should be something in place for at least the class of 2020 during the pandemic, so that way they can obtain their licenses. That could be presented in the future, because I have been inquired with from a couple of exam administrators in regards to the OSCE, but at the time, I don't think it's something that the board is looking at. We're primarily looking at the continuation of the mannequin exams.
Okay, so in the last meeting, and this is good for my fellow board members as well, is they have some new typodonts coming out, Acu typodonts, and REB is working on a typodont with calculus embedded in certain areas, so that the detection and the removal can be tested upon in public, and I mean in person in the future. So that's something that will be down the road. They have the different typodont teeth right now, and now they have developed a typodont tooth with calculus and a type dental form that can accommodate that. So maybe that will be helpful in the future for you.
This is Tony again. That would be beneficial, I think, all around for students to have that type of examination. Thank you.
Correct. So that might be a great advancement, because again, if we're following typodont mannequin model, and having that ability to test for that clinically without a patient is excellent, I think. Okay, Tony, that's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Dr. Lai, if you'll put your hand down, and Dr. Stewart, Ms. Medina has her hand up.
I just wanted to mention that I know Denise Davis personally. She's I'm so glad that she's on the hygiene board, dental hygiene board. I'm really excited that she's on there. So just wanted to acknowledge that I know personally.
Thank you. Any further board member comments?
I would just ask that Member Medina, please lower your hand. Thank you.
Seeing none, are there any public comments? DCA moderator, can you please facilitate the lines for public comment?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field, and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 7, Department of Consumer Affairs Staffing and Activities. And I believe that Carrie Holmes is with us, the DCA Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations, to provide that report.
Good morning, Board President Stewart and board members. I'm Carrie Holmes, Deputy Director for Board and Bureau Relations at the Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for this opportunity to provide the department update. A special welcome to your newest members, Dr. Sonia Molina and Public Member Mark Mendoza. Congratulations on your appointment, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Our work continues even though COVID-19 has changed the way we do business now and in the future. As a result of continued widespread transmission of COVID-19, California's Department of Public Health has issued a new stay-at-home order based on a region's ICU capacity. The new order will go into effect 24 hours after the region falls below 15% remaining ICU capacity. And as Executive Officer Karen Fisher explained, effective Monday, December 7th, all state offices with some exceptions will be closed to the public. State offices will remain closed for at least 3 weeks. And as we did during prior office closures, DCA Board and Bureau operations will continue with health and safety measures in place, including telework for most employees and strict adherence to face covering and social distancing protocols. Thank you to Ms. Fisher for your emphasis on following guidance to keep staff safe and healthy. The economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and unprecedented welfare activities are expected to last for several years. The city needs to take immediate action to reduce costs and maximize efficiency to support our households. In April, DCA boards and all boards and bureaus worked toward an expenditures and hiring to only those necessary to support core functions and emergency response activities. Additionally, just at the end of November, DCA learned that the department and each board and bureau will be required to take a 5% permanent private protection no later than 21-22. DCA began working with board staff immediately to identify a plan that will best fit the board's operational needs. DCA would like to thank the board and staff for their continued service despite the challenges. Lastly, I would like to update you on some of the work Board and Bureau Relations is doing to support the board's executive team, along with all board and bureau leaders. Board and Bureau Relations has put on 3 brown bags training this fall to provide executive officers the opportunity to learn and discuss best practices and topics such as appointments, managing staff remotely, and providing business meeting materials to board members and the public. In partnership with DCA's Solid Training Unit, board member orientation trainings have been held quarterly for next year, and new training for board presidents will be rolled out in the new. I look forward to debating with you in person. In the meantime, if you have any questions or need anything from DCA, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you again for inviting me to the meeting. That concludes my presentation, and I will hand it over to Board President.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Are there any board member comments? please use the raise hand feature.
Dr. Stewart, this is Karen Fisher. I just wanted to interject that Ms. Holmes' microphone was pretty fuzzy, and in the event that people had difficulty understanding her, we're going to send out a follow-up report to board members.
Yes, that'll be helpful. Thank you. It was pretty difficult to hear. Okay, I see no member questions. How about any public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field, and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Thank you, and we will now move on to agenda item 8, discussion and possible action regarding the update on the Dental Board of California's strategic plan. And I will ask our EO, Karen Fisher, to present this agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. In your packet, you will find the current strategic plan dated 2017 to 2020. The board had intended to begin the process of updating its plan this year. However, due to COVID and the inability for members to meet in person for workshops, this update has been delayed. The Solid Planning Solutions team within the Department of Consumer Affairs will be assisting the board with updating this plan when feasible, and the board is optimistic that this process will begin sometime in 2021. However, until then, my suggestion is that if you will go ahead and review this strategic plan, at the February meeting, I will be bringing back this plan with updates as to what's been completed, what is ongoing, and what still needs to be completed. And it's likely that I will ask board members to vote on that plan to extend it through perhaps by 6 to 18 months, so that at least we have a recognized strategic plan moving forward. You don't need to vote on that at this point. That's what I'm planning to do, bring it back, a detailed report of what objectives have been met for each goal. I'll bring that back to the February meeting. Are there any board member questions? For the benefit of the new board members, I will be contacting you in the coming weeks to do your dental board orientation that's specific to you. You are still required to sign up for the Department of Consumer Affairs board member orientation, but the orientation I have with you is more specific to what's going on in the dental board. So we'll have an opportunity during those telephone conversations for me to give you a little bit more information on the strategic plan and what the process has been in the past. Dr. Stewart, it looks like there are no board member. So we have Dr. Lai and Dr. Morrow.
Dr. Lai.
Thank you, Karen. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, Dr. Morrow first.
All right, sorry. Thanks. Would it be advisable for the board to move to extend the approval of the current strategic plan through the year 2021 so that we can facilitate this process and still have an effective strategic plan through that year?
I can answer that. I was anticipating that we could do that at the February meeting. However, if board members are confident just to move that forward now, that is an option. The reason I was thinking about bringing that forward in February is to essentially give board members all the information on where we are with the plan. We clearly have some things we can continue to work on, and but it's at the board pleasure whether they would choose to just extend the plan Not knowing exactly what needs to be done at this point, it's hard to know how long to extend the plan. Does that answer your question, Dr. Morrow?
Yes, it does. I'm just concerned that if our current plan expires December 31 of this year, then are we going to be operating without an approved strategic plan until such time as we establish a new one?
No, technically, I suppose one could say that. However, because we are discussing it at this meeting, I think that it will be understood that the intention will likely be to go ahead and extend the plan, but that official vote could come in February after all the details are essentially shared with board members. But again, it's up to the board. At some point, if you feel you'd like to try to make a motion just to extend it, that certainly could be considered.
Okay, at this point in time, I feel more comfortable in making that motion. So I move for the board to approve the extension of its current strategic plan through the calendar year of 2021.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Ross Lai, second.
Dr. Molina?
So Dr. Morrow moved it and Dr. Molina seconded. Dr. Lai, is that what you had intended to discuss?
No, it was just a comment, general comment as far as I'm okay with going forward with that, but I have a different question in entirety.
Would you like to bring it up at this point?
Sure. The strategic plan was put forth, quite some time ago, and my concern is, since so many people are either on their grace year or, are not going to be participating in the transfer of these strategic plans, and some people don't know anything about it or haven't been up on all the changes. My concern is if there's ever a way we can make sure there is a majority of people on the board at any period of time, because it looks like, we have so many, 6 people in transition. We have 3 that our terms are expiring, and then we have 3 others that are either going to re-up or not do it anymore. So I think the problem is we need a core group to be able to just make sure all our strategic plan will be, fall through with in the future. So my concern is that we have that lag, that hole there. I don't know if that can be addressed in the future. That's my comment.
Yeah, and this is Dr. Stewart. I'd like to make a comment. And Dr. Morrow, I certainly understand where you're coming from, but I think that the plan that Ms. Fisher has put forward to review the strategic plan, including the items that have been completed, and take a serious look at the items that have not been completed, I think that'll be something that should happen in February, and I think that will greatly benefit, especially our newer members. So I would certainly hope that we can continue along that path, because I think the information will be important to the entire board and especially our newer members.
This is Dr. Morrow. Dr. Stewart, I agree with you completely. And my expectation is that during the calendar year of 2021, we will have a strategic plan in place while we work towards developing a new and revised strategic plan that will become effective at the beginning of 2022.
Dr. Stewart, it looks like Ms. Burton's hand is up.
Yes, Fran. Ms. Burton.
I just wanted to concur with both your comments and with Dr. Lai's comments, I think that it's going to be important to look at this in terms of what objectives we have met and any updates to this. Currently what you're looking at is a plan that has not been updated. February is just a couple of months ago away. And so I don't think that this, for me, is of such an urgent nature that it needs to be done now. I would prefer to wait until February. So I would vote no on the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burton. Further board member comments? I believe we have a motion before us with a second. Am I right?
You are right. It's time to.
Do we ask for public comments before we take that vote?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? DCA moderator, can you help us?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Is there any further discussion before we take that vote?
Dr. Stewart, I would ask Dr. Morrow to repeat his motion.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Morrow?
Okay, my motion was that I move for the board to approve the extension of its current strategic plan through the calendar year 2021, during which time the board will work towards developing a new strategic plan.
Dr. Molina, do you continue to support that motion?
I was trying to raise my hand, but for whatever reason, my computer is not allowing me. So my question is, do we need to have the strategic plan, or can we just review it in February, since we do have a few members that are new? And especially if you're going to be meeting with us and giving us the orientation, it probably would be better if we do it in February, if we don't need to vote today.
Okay, so rather than respond to that, it's almost sounding like you're withdrawing your second. Is that true?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the extension of the strategic plan through 2021. During this time next year, the board will work toward updating its strategic plan. Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion fails.
All right, and thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 9, the budget report. And I will ask Steve Long, the board budget analyst, to present this agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Good morning. My name is Steve Long, and I'm the budget and contract analyst for the board. I will be presenting on the budget report, which begins on page 50 of the meeting materials. The first section of the report is a year-end summary of expenditures for the prior fiscal year from July 1st of 2019 through June 30th of 2020. As listed in the first chart, the dentistry fund had an approximate appropriation of $15.8 million, with $13.2 million of expenditures, which resulted in a reversion or savings of $2.1 million. The dental assistant fund had an approximate appropriation of $2.6 million, with $1.8 million of expenditures, which resulted in a reversion of $768,000. The total reversion for last fiscal year was about $2.9 million. All monies not expended for the fiscal year are placed back into the fund. This increases the reserve balance for economic uncertainties. Monies from a reversion may be expended in future budget years when the funds are appropriated. The Budget Act of 2020 combined the State Dentistry Fund and the State Dental Assistant Fund beginning July 1st of 2020. Moving forward, expenditures will be reported for the combined funds. Board staff still has the ability to identify expenditures between the two programs as needed. Moving on to the second section of the report, which identifies current year expenditures for the first quarter from July 1st of 2020 through September 30th, 2020. The board has an appropriation of approximately $18.6 million and has spent roughly $4 million or 22% of its total appropriation during the first quarter. Of that amount, approximately $2 million of the expenditures were for personnel services and $2 million were for the operating expense and equipment for this time period. Attachment 1 displays the year-to-date expenditures for the State Dentistry Fund. You might notice the format looks slightly different than previous reports, but essentially the same information is provided. Beginning with this fiscal year, the Department of Consumer Affairs implemented changes to the budget report formats. Board staff now have the ability to run revenue and expenditure reports through the Qbert system, which pulls data from the FisCal system. The reports were formatted and standardized so that all programs under DCA can utilize the same reports. In Attachment 1, the expenditures for the current and previous year are provided by category. The expenditure report for this time period does not include year-end expenditure projections, as there is only 3 months of expense data. Typically, 5 months of expense reports are necessary to project accurate year-end expenses. This year in particular is different than previous years due to cost variances as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Expense projections for year-end spending will be provided at a future meeting when more data becomes available. And finally, Attachment 1A displays an analysis of the State Dentistry Fund's condition. The board has sufficient funds in reserve for economic uncertainties and has historically reverted a significant amount of money at the end of each year. There is no action requested at this time, and this concludes my report, and I would be happy to address any questions there may be.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Are there any board member comments? Please use the raise hand feature. I see, I'm not sure who was first. I see, I'll recognize Ross Lai and then Sonia Molina. Ross?
Hi, Mr. Long. This is Dr. Lai. I have a question on our report. Is there any notation from the DCA loan that we loaned the state? Does it come on any of these on the spreadsheet at all?
Yes, Dr. Lai. So if you look at Attachment 1A, At the fund condition, if you go to the middle column of current year and then go down, you'll see the transfer to other funds, and then you'll see minus 5 million. That's the loan that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Transfer to other funds, GS loan per item.
Yes.
And was there a payback schedule? Do we know when they're going to pay the dental board back for the loan? Was there a date or just for my information?
Yeah, I don't have the exact payback schedule. It's since it just began this year.
Okay.
There probably is a plan that the Department of Finance has, but I do know that it will be repaid with interest.
Okay, great. Because a lot of times the dentists of California like to know where all the money is going to, and if they have a raise in dues, they want to know where the money is. So I just want to be able to pinpoint that. But thank you very much, Mr. Long.
Thank you.
Steve, I'm going to interject here. This is Karen Fisher. Dr. Lai, in the event that the board would need to raise fees, that triggers the loan being repaid faster than it normally would. We don't anticipate that we're going to be needing to raise fees. We've also been asked by the governor to reduce our expenditures, which we've been doing by, we save a tremendous amount of money by not meeting in person with the hotel contracts and the such as that. So we're just hopeful that the reason the money was borrowed was to cover COVID. So the sooner that we can get the distribution of the COVID vaccine and we can get a handle on the progression of the virus, I think we'll have a better idea of when the loan repayment will come back to us. But as I said, if we found ourselves in a position where we needed to raise fees, that loan would have to be paid back. $5 million is a lot of money, but it doesn't represent a huge hit to our overall budget, so at this point there should not be a lot of concern.
That's great. Yeah, I'm just concerned that we actually spent years trying to raise the fees, and then a lot of our dental constituents and our dental assistants asked. And the question is, what do we do with it? What does the state board do for me? I mean, that's usually a question that gets volleyed around. And so we just have to be careful in how we spend our money. And I know you're doing a great job trying to save money, and I'm all for saving money. You know that. So thank you for that.
And thank you. In essence, the licensing fee was not raised for 18 years. So I understand that licensees at the time we raised this fee were upset, but essentially they had not seen an increase in the licensing fees for 18 years. So we are keeping a much tighter look on things, and we're not likely going to go another 18 years before fees are raised. We're going to be watching it more closely. That being said, I know that board members will get asked what are licensees getting for their money, and what they're getting is essentially what the board does is we approve licensees essentially they test and they get a license for minimum competency, if you will, and then the majority of our budget, as we've discussed in the past, probably 75% of our budget goes to essentially investigating violations of the Dental Practice Act. And as we've heard from organizations, from California Dental Association and other stakeholder groups, they fully support the board's effort to ensure that licensees are practicing safely out there. So should any board members get any future questions about what are licensees getting for their money, you can just freely give out my phone number, and I'm happy to discuss it with them. Thank you for your comment, Dr. Lai.
Thank you. That's great.
I would like to recognize Dr. Molina. Sonia?
Yes, this is Dr. Molina. Just a point of clarification. I see that we added to our reserves $2.9 million. And does that mean that our total reserves are 30 million? Where it says total resources? Am I correct?
Steve, did you want to, Steve, no, I don't think that's correct, but Steve, did you want to comment on that?
So the 2.9 is referring to the reversion for the previous year.
Correct.
If you want to look at the total reserve, then that would be on the fund condition attachment. And so it has the months in reserve and the fund balance at the very bottom. Which is projected to be 8.9 million.
Okay.
That's on page 54.
Okay. So, yes, I see it now. So, so we saved almost 3 out of the 8 that we have, correct?
Well, the way that the budget is built, the reversion amount is not specifically identified. So we're budgeted for a certain amount, and then we typically save a portion of that, which could be identified as spending initially.
So I'm still not clear what the total reserve amount is.
Dr. Molina, we know that at the end of the year, and we can take up, we can have a little tutorial with you privately about understanding how the budget, but typically we go through an annual budget process, and typically the board expenditure authority is increased approximately 2% per year. So right now our total appropriation, as you see on page 50 of your board meeting materials, the dentistry fund is appropriated just under $16 million, and the dentistry and the dental assistant fund is just under $3 million. So those are the numbers we're working on. Ideally, the board should be spending every penny of their money, essentially, every year for the authorized expenditures. But in past years, we have seen savings. So essentially, the savings that we've seen from year to year are approximately $2 million, which means that goes back into our budget. We don't lose it. It's a little bit more complicated to explain, so I'm happy to have this discussion with you in the future.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. Good questions. Any further board member comments? Dr. Molina, I still see your hand up, but can you put that down, please? Thank you.
Dr. Loren has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Loren, please.
Okay, hello. Yes, I just had a question to clarify. Now that the state dentistry fund and the state dental assistant fund has merged, I just curious what happens with the reserves, because I see the total at the bottom of last year. Do those reserves stay like in a one bucket, or does each fund keep their own reserves and utilize their reserves? Or do the reserves go to any fund that might need it? Or are they're commingled, I think, right? Who gets to keep their reserves? Because I see the total at the bottom. That's like a one bucket, right?
Yes, so now that... Oh, go ahead.
Hello?
Hi, good morning, Dr. Lorraine. This is Wilbert Rumbawa, the Administrative Services Unit Manager. In regards to your question, the dental board and the dental assistant fund are now merged, so it's technically, as you would call it, one bucket. So as Steve mentioned earlier, we're still able to track the expenditures and revenues separately, but at this time, everything is been combined from based on the Department of Finance's direction and legislation.
Okay, so whichever fund that might require some extra money just goes to the bucket, even though one has put more money in the pocket.
We're all combined now. We're not thinking of it as a technical separate two different funds. We can still track it separately, like we stated earlier, but at this point, we're looking at it as one fund going forward, and they both support each other at this point.
Okay, good. Yes, thank you so much for your answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lorraine. Any further board member comments or questions?
I would just ask that Dr. Lorraine take her hand down, please.
Thank you. Any further board member comments? Seeing none, how about public comments? DCA moderator, can you please facilitate the lines for public comment?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on the bottom of your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests at this time, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
I have 10:28 on my watch, and I think it might be a good time to take about a 15-minute bio break. Karen, is that okay?
I'd say long overdue. Let's go for it.
All right. Can we please put the return time up on the screen? We'll take 15 minutes and come back at
let's say 10:45.
10:45. Thank you. Necessary?
We shouldn't have to. We can see that everybody's on, and so I'd say we shouldn't have to.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Well, felt good just to move around a little bit, right? And get outside and soak up a minute of sunshine. It was nice.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on now to agenda item 10, update on online renewals. And I'm going to ask Jessica Olney, manager of the anesthesia unit, to please report on this agenda item.
If we could just hold on 1 second, let me make sure the moderators are on board. So hold on one moment, please.
This is the moderator. We are ready.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Thank you, Karen. And good morning, members of the board. I want to provide you with an update on our online renewal. And to give you a little background, at the November 14 through 15, 2019 meeting, we presented a proposal to the board to convert from the currently used online, mailed paper renewal to convert to an online only renewal process beginning in the 2021 year. Since then, I'll back up a little bit. At that board meeting, we presented information on the number of renewals that were received online versus by mail. We brought information on the number of errors that were received when someone renewed by mail versus the error rate when someone renewed online, and it was significant. For a paper renewal, we had an average of 26% deficiencies versus the online renewal, which only had a 6% deficiency rate. We also brought information to discuss switching from the current paper renewal that is mailed, which can be anywhere from 5 to 8 pages, versus converting to a postmark or a postcard renewal notice to send to licensees. We found that by converting to the postcard renewal, we would save an estimated $29,000 per year. And we're looking at that information based on other boards who had previously converted to an online format. Currently, the Board of Registered Nursing, the Board of Psychology have both converted to online renewals and have had great success with it. This past year, we did submit tickets to the Breeze team, which is our tech unit, to convert to the online-only renewals. We've been working with the Breeze team to find out what forms need to be updated, what things we'll need to do to the system in able to make this work next year. Due to COVID, we have pushed back the release date. We're now looking at beginning with the July 2021 renewal cycle. And since then, we have also worked with the Office of Public Affairs and in developing a website in order to make an announcement of the change. And that website was released, or excuse me, not website, but an alert was posted to our website in order to announce that release. And we also sent out an email blast to all our subscribers. So we're going to look forward to working with the Breeze team on getting this implemented again for the July 2021 renewals. We will start sending out renewal notices in May of next year, and we've asked that all licensees go ahead and log on to Breeze, try out the Breeze system. And if anyone's not familiar with Breeze, it allows you to do many things in addition to renewing your license. Applicants can apply for new licenses and permits. You can request duplicate licenses. You can submit a change of address, a change of name. There are lots of options. And if you haven't registered on Breeze, for those of you who are licensees, I suggest you do so. Check it out. And just make sure that you have your account ready to go so that we don't run into any issues when it is time for you to renew. If you need assistance, we are happy to help all of our licensees. And thank you. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Jessica. Are there any board member comments, questions? Dr. Montel and then Dr. Felsenfeld.
Hi, this is Dr. Montel. Just a question. So just to clarify, I know that in the past, dentists had the online capability, and I think the assistants didn't. They just had to only do mail-in. So when you say licensees, you mean everybody, dentists, RDAs, RDAEFs, all that. You're talking about all licensees, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Since we went live with Breeze in 2016, every licensee has had the ability to create a Breeze account and renew online. And that includes the dental auxiliaries. For dentists, that includes your permits, your fictitious name permit, your conscious sedation or anesthesia permit. So every permit and license that the board issues is available online.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Felsenfeld.
Good morning, Jessica. This is almost embarrassed to ask this question. In the year 2021, do we by any chance have members who are not computer literate? I don't want to disenfranchise anybody. And will there be options for maybe the handful of members that are just not able to do that by computer?
Hey, Dr. Felsenfeld. So we won't completely, our goal is to have everyone renew online. We're not going to change Breeze so that it's not an option to renew online, because we know there could be issues that someone may need to send a check. So we're not going to completely remove that capability, but we're going to try to get the majority of licensees to renew that way.
Alan, did that answer your question? I'm going to assume so. Are there further board member comments? I don't see any, so let's go to public comment.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you, moderator.
It is closed.
Okay, we will now move on to agenda item 11, update on new dental assisting program and course applications. And I will ask Emilia Zulawaga, and forgive me if I mispronounce that, Emilia, dental assisting program manager, to present this agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart, and you actually said my name perfectly. So my name is Emilia Zulawaga, and I'm the dental assisting program manager. So agenda item 11A, update on new dental assisting program and course applications. This memo, beginning on page 1 of the memo, or page 57 of the meeting materials, provides an overview of the new dental assisting program and course applications received by the board. Table 1 shows the total number of program and course applications received by the board. Table 2 shows the number of RDA and RDA-ES program site visits conducted in 2020. Table 3 is an overview of the status of each application received. Table 4 shows the total number of approved programs and courses. And Table 5 identifies the approved programs and courses by name and the type of programs. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any board member comments or questions? Seeing none, how about public comments, questions?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on the screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Thank you.
It is closed.
We will now move on to agenda item 11B, update on RDA program re-evaluations. And again, I will ask Emilia to continue with this agenda item.
Thank you. The table beginning on page 1 of the memo, or page 61 of the meeting materials, shows the reevaluations being conducted by board staff and the status of each reevaluation. We have also included an overview of the reevaluation process, and I'd be happy to take any questions on this agenda item.
Thank you, Emilia. Any board member comments? Seeing none, any public comments?
I'm sorry, Dr. Stewart, Dr. Lai has his hand up.
Apologize, Ross, I didn't see it. Dr. Lai?
You always leave me out anyway. It's okay. Anyway, question to Leah is, do we have any statistics on if more people are getting into dental assisting programs these days? Because we have pretty much a big shortage in dental assistants these days.
Hi, Dr. Lai. This is Tina Valerie, Chief of Administration and Licensing. We don't track the enrollment at each program, so we would not have that information.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Just wanted to make, we always hear of here in San Francisco that there are so few assistants that are seeking work or they're not getting into this field. So it was a great concern to us a few years back that we weren't having enough assistants even in our neighborhood. So I just wanted to see if there was. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lai, for those comments. Any further board member comments? Ms. Olivue.
Hi, Dr.
Excuse me.
Hello, Dr. Stewart. Thank you. Please let me know if I'm going off agenda, but just in regards to Dr. Lai's comment, I do get to work with multiple schools across the country, and we are seeing a decline in dental assisting and the profession and the attraction to it. I would say DA schools, especially when COVID was first hit, there was a 50% decline in some of the DA programs within California, across the country. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Rosamund, for that.
Any further board member comments? Any public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field, and submit that to all panelists. Our first request for comment comes from Bruce Witcher. Bruce, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you all?
Morning, Bruce.
Yes. I would just point out that the American Dental Association, their Center on Public Healthcare Policy, publishes statistics on the number of dentists, specialists, and dental assistants and hygienists that are very interesting. That's available through their website, and they show a marked decline in the number of dental assistants entering the profession. So this is a nationwide trend, and I think it's reflected in the California program as well. So just maybe look at that. It's worth reading and keeping up with. It also gives information about the busyness of practices following the COVID pandemic. So there's a lot of good information there. That's my comment. Thank you.
Bruce, could you repeat that source?
Yes, it's the ADA's Center for Healthcare Policy. It's run by Marko Vukovic, and it's not too hard to find from the ADA website.
Thank you, and always good to hear from you, Bruce. Thank you. Any further public comment?
Yes, our next request for comment comes from Claudia Pohl. Claudia, your line is open and you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Claudia Pohl with California Dental Assistants Association. Oh, muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm just wondering if there is a plan moving forward to continue the reevaluations of the remaining programs.
Hi, Claudia. This is Tina Valerie.
Hi, Tina.
Hi. Yes, I mean, at some point we do plan to continue the reevaluations, but in light of the COVID situation, it's probably not the best time for us to put that out there, but we definitely are going to continue the process. When we'll pick it back up, I'm not sure at this point, but I can report on that maybe at a future meeting.
Thank you.
This is Karen Fisher, Executive Officer of the Dental Board. Just a gentle reminder for those people who want to make a public comment. This is not an opportunity to ask the board any questions. So rephrase your comments in the future just to make a public comment. Thank you.
This is the moderator. We have another request for comment from Melody Randolph. And Melody, as I get ready to unmute your microphone, if I can just remind you as well to lower your raised hand that you have raised. Your microphone is now unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi there, Melody Randolph representing California Association of Dental Assisting Teachers and the Dental Assisting Educators Group. And my comment would just be that it would be helpful if a statement could go out regarding plans for evaluating programs in the future. There's a lot of, as there usually is, there's a lot of things in the wind and speculation and ideas about what programs are going to be having to do the reevaluation, which ones are, which ones aren't, are all of them going to be. So we would appreciate if you would send out a notification to the programs or post something on your website what the plans are as far as who is going to be reevaluated and who is not. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Any further public comment?
Yes, so next comment is from Mary McCoon. And Mary, your line is unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, Mary McCune with the California Dental Association. I just wanted to pose a response to Dr. Lai's comment about the RDA shortage. CDA a little bit earlier this year launched the Smile Crew of California, and you can visit that at smilecrewca.com. And that's basically been set up to help recruit for dental assisting careers. And we're planning on developing more materials for that, both this year and next year, and we can keep the dental board apprised of those efforts. Additionally, we have also just submitted public comment and strong support of Foothill College's apprenticeship program for an RDA program, and that hopefully can actually help alleviate some of the RDA shortages in the SF area, hopefully. So there's more to come on that, but we just wanted to let the board know about our efforts recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, for those comments. Further comments from public?
No, this is the moderator. We have no additional requests for comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Dr. Stewart, it looks like Ms. Olagi has her hand raised.
Yes, Ms. Olagi.
My apologies, Karen and Dr. Stewart. I am in the process of trying to lower that hand. My apologies.
No problem. Thank you. All right, we will now move on to agenda item 11C, update on dental assisting examination statistics. Amelia Zulawaga, would you please continue with this agenda item?
Yes, thank you. Currently, the board offers 4 written examinations: the RDA Combined General Written and Law and Ethics exam, the RDA EF written, the Orthodontic Assistant Permit written, and the Dental Sedation Assistant Permit written exam. The tables beginning on page 1 of the memo or page 64 of the meeting materials include candidates that have been tested over the last 12 months and the passing and failing scores for each exam. Additionally, you will find a breakdown of each examination by first-time and repeat candidates and their passing and failing scores. You will also find numerous pages of statistics that show the passing rates for individual approved programs. And then I just wanted to also mention that there are some corrected revised numbers for these statistics that should be available on the screen. And then I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any board member comments? Amelia, would you discuss the trend? Does it look like we're getting a higher passing rate on some of these examinations than we have in the past?
Hi, Dr. Lai. This is Tina Valerie, Chief of Administration and Licensing. Unfortunately, we don't have that information in front of us today, but we are going to look at putting, I guess, a chart together for future meetings to show the trend over the last year. So I definitely could get that information for you at the next meeting.
Gina, that was my question. Was not my question.
Yeah, that was Dr. Stewart's question. So thank you. We'll look forward to that information.
I apologize. Sorry.
So Dr. Stewart, we have hands up for Dr. Felsenfeld, Dr. Montel, and Dr. Lai.
Let's go in that order.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. I have a question relative to the very low pass rate, or interestingly low pass rate, of the orthodontic assistants at all levels, whether it's combined or new or first. Most of the courses that are approved are obviously in private practice of orthodontics. Do we have any understanding why we're having such problems getting these individuals through the exams? Are the courses not being taught properly? Are the orthodontic offices that are licensed to allow to do that, maybe not licensed, but approved to do that, not following curriculum? Does anyone have any idea about that?
This is Karen Fisher, Executive Officer. Dr. Felsenfeld, when we've had those questions in the past, we've received information from legal counsel that in essence says it would be difficult to determine whether or not the low pass rate is necessarily related to the teaching, the course, or the candidate. And to determine if that has any effect on the exam would require a huge, almost investigation into essentially the study habits of each person attending a class and so on. So what I see the direction the board moving into is if we continue to have low passage rates for certain programs, to try to contact programs in the future and somehow determine what's going on. But when this question has come up in the past, it's a very difficult question to answer. Okay. But what we can say, and what the board's responsibility is, to make sure we have a legally defensible examination. And so all examinations have been developed by the Office of Professional Examination Services. And so while there may be lower pass rates than the board would anticipate, the examinations are considered psychometrically sound and legally defensible.
I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Can someone help me with the order? Who was second? I think there were two other names, Montel and Lai.
Well, I think we only see Dr. Montel at this point. Oh, and Dr. Lai.
Let's go with
So
Dr.
Yeah, Dr. Montel followed Dr. Felsenfeld, and then we have Dr. Lai.
Dr. Montel, please.
Thanks. I just had a question. So I was wondering if it was possible, or if it was maybe the board would think it would be helpful, to look at past numbers of people taking these types of tests, because I feel like that would maybe at least inform somewhat of our workforce issue that we might be facing. I didn't know if we'd looked at workforce in the past to see. I know we're looking at a decline in assistants, but I'm personally really concerned with what COVID is doing to the profession. So I kind of wonder if there are different ways we can kind of get a grasp on what's happening to not only RDAs and RDAEFs, et cetera, but dentists in general.
This is Karen Fisher, Dr. Montel. I'm not really following what you're asking us to do.
Well, basically, in this instance, I was just looking at the test scores, because if you can see how many people have been tested one year and you look back, you can see if that number has fallen. Now, these are people who are, might already be in the profession and are just advancing themselves. I don't know how you track DAs, but I'm just trying to see if this data, looking at past data and comparing it, would tell us anything. That's all.
Yes, and I believe that that's what Ms. Valerie had mentioned as she was presenting the statistics, that the board staff have been instructed for future board meetings to to essentially give you data to show what the trends are. And whether we look back 1 year or 2 years, we'll roundtable that in the staff meetings, but you're right. The information we're giving you is a point in time right now, and it's difficult to determine whether things are getting better or worse. So we will be putting that information together for the February board meeting.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Dr. Lai.
Lai.
Hello again. I just have one open question is when the examination is given, they pay a fee. Is there a second fee for if they're examined again? That's my first question. Secondly, would that cost discourage assistants from, because of financial hardship, to retake it? I don't know if it's, is there a second charge for the exam? That's my question.
Hi, this is Tina Valerie. So the answer is yes, they are charged a fee. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's less than $30 for the orthodontic assistant exam. And if they do not pass and they have to retest, they do have to pay that fee again.
How about the general RDA exam? Do you know how much that is?
I believe that one is $43.
Okay, that's great. That's not. I was thinking it'd be something more exorbitant, but that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further board member comments, questions? Can we move on to public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Enter "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Our first request for comment comes from Dr. Bruce Witcher. Dr. Witcher, your microphone is unmuted. You will have 2 minutes.
Fine, thank you. On the RDA exam fees, I do believe that the PSI charges something in addition to what the board charges. I think the total cost winds up being like $120, $130. Maybe somebody who knows that, like Sarah or Tina, could give me a more accurate figure. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Our next request for comment comes from Kara Miyazaki. Kara, your line is unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak to this issue about the written exams. And I just want to know if with the prior comment from the board member about gathering the demographics of the students taking the exam, to consider offering the exam in multiple languages and to see how many students have English as a second language. The Board of Cosmetology currently offers their written exam in English, Korean, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And again, considering the demographics of our students across California, that could be something that could be considered for the exam. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Seeing no additional comments, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes.
It is closed.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 11D, update on dental licensing statistics, and I will again ask Ms. Zuluaga to present this agenda item.
Thank you. The update on dental assisting licensing statistics. The board currently licenses RDAs, RDAEF, OAs, and DSAs in the dental assisting program. This memo is an overview of the current and inactive, delinquent, and canceled licenses. This item also provides the delinquent license aging, a breakdown of licensees per county, and the ratio of RDAs to DDSs licensed within those counties. Beginning on page 4 of this memo, There are tables indicating the number of applications received by the board in 2020, as well as those that have been approved, the number of licenses that have been issued, along with the number of applications canceled, withdrawn, and denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board member comments?
I'm not sure if Dr. Lai's hand is up for this agenda item, but he's the only hand up.
Thank you, Dr. Lai.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No further board member comments. Then let's go to public comments.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type, I would like to make a comment into the ask field and submit that to all panelists. Our first request for comment comes from Dr. Bruce Witcher. Dr. Witcher, your microphone is unmuted. You will have 2 minutes.
Hi, Dr. Bruce Witcher and former liaison to the Dental Assisting Council. If I could beg your indulgence here and go back to page 74 on the examination statistics. There's a cumulative total at the bottom of the page, which is a little unclear. Down where at the very bottom it says percent pass, total fail. Do those numbers include all pathways, including ADA or CODA, work experience, and California written exam? Or, how is that broken out? I mean, that's just a question, maybe somebody could make that a little more clear.
This is Karen Fisher, Executive Officer. I'm going to step in here. Dr. Witcher, can we have staff call you to talk offline, since public comment is typically for just public comment and not to ask questions of the board?
Yeah, this might be better, something offline. That's fine. Thank you.
We'll make a note. We'll have staff call you to discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no additional requests for public comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
And thank you. Yes.
It is closed.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item 12A, enforcement statistics and trends. And I will ask Carlos Alvarez, Chief of Enforcement Field Offices, to present this agenda item.
Good morning, Dr. Stewart. Good morning, board members. Carlos Alvarez, Chief of Enforcement, and I will be presenting on agenda item 12A, review enforcement statistics and trends. So I'm starting off with the complaint compliance unit, and the number of complaints that were received between July 1st, 2020 and October 31st of 2020 has been 1,365 complaints that we received. And just kind of give you a perspective where we were at last year during this time, we received 1,103. So currently we have received 262 more cases. So complaint cases that are currently open in the complaint compliance unit as October 31st of 2020 is 624 cases. And then if you see below with the case aging here, we have a breakdown of the case aging that we have. And currently with complaints that have come in that are between 0 and 3 months, we're at 514 cases. 3 to 6 months, we're at 71 cases. Between 6 and 12 months, we're at 39 cases. And at the 1 year cases, we have 0. And just to give you a comparison where we were at with the case aging, in 2018, 2019, when we started kind of Q2 with cases between 3 and 6 months, we had 286 cases that were pending. While we were trying to retrieve records, we're trying to process the files, waiting on dental consultants to review the files. And so we did an analysis the CCU unit, and where we started identifying, the workload analysis, how cases were assigned to staff, how long it was taking them to process the files, and then we kind of streamlined the process there with all the managers together. And so this kind of accounts how we started decreasing the cases. So like I said, so in Q2, we had 286 cases. Then in the fiscal year 1920, we had 109. And so currently right now, we're at 71 cases right now. So we definitely been decreasing the case aging there. And then to move on to 6 and 12 months, the cases that were there again, starting off from 2018, 2019, we had 238 cases during that time. And we have significantly decreased it because we're now at 39 cases now. And so then with the 1 year cases that when we started again, 2018, 2019, we had 63 cases that were pending that were in the CCU unit that were at the 1 year mark. And we, again, with everything that we did there in the CCU unit, going over the workload, everything that I discussed, the process, the streamlining, we're now at 0. So these are significant decreases that we made in that unit in order to move these cases faster. So that's some of the accomplishments that we have that we're kind of ending right here with 2020. And so I'll move on to cases of in investigations currently right now with the number of subsequent arrest reports, what we call SARS. And so what SARS is, again, is subsequent arrests where licensees get arrested, they get fingerprinted. And so what that does, they kind of send us an alert from the Department of Justice. They send us a report identifying that a licensee has been arrested. And so currently right now, as of October 31st, we have 348 cases there. And the reason we have so many cases there at 348, because none of these cases have been adjudicated at this time. So we're waiting on these cases to receive a conviction. We're waiting on notices from the court offices if the cases have been dismissed. And so once we get the notification that the case has, we have a conviction, we start ordering records. Now we start ordering records from the police departments. We start ordering records from the district attorney's office, so we could compare it. So we could prepare it as an accusation. So at that time, that's when we file an accusation when we receive notification that there's been a conviction. And so then I'll move into the investigative analysis unit, what we call the IAU unit. And this, again, this is non-sworn personnel that are conducting investigations. And we currently have 414 cases in that unit. And in the sworn investigator units here in Sacramento, we have 192 cases. And the Orange Field Office, we have 345 cases in that field office. And so one of the things that I kind of want to touch again, just to give a comparison, when we started in 2018, 2019, on the case aging, we had 56 cases that were at the 3-year mark. And typically we have 3 years statute of limitations to close cases out. And so at that time we had 56 cases. So again, we went in, started identifying these cases. We started making priorities, again, streamlining. And so right now at 2020, we have 15 cases that are at the 3-year mark. And then some of these cases that are kind of 3 years or over, again, fraud cases. Typically, we don't really have a statute of limitations for fraud cases because those are actually kind of time consuming because we have to collect a lot of records from either the insurance companies, we have to collect records from the dental offices, and then we have to kind of go on with the billing and actually go with, month through month with the billing. So typically those cases take 3 years or more. So again, improvements with the case aging there with the enforcement program. So the number of investigations that we have closed between July 1st and 2020, through October 31st, we have closed 451 cases. So currently right now, as far as inspections, we don't have any inspections right now. Our field office, our investigators, our inspectors are currently, they're not going out to the field. But what we had to adapt, again, with COVID, we have to adapt by not going in the field. So what we're doing is we're sending out notices to these dental offices where we had received complaints of unsanitary conditions in their office. So what we do is we had to adapt, because usually what we had to do was inspectors, investigators, we will go out in the field, do unannounced visits, and conduct an inspection. So now with the COVID crisis, what we do is now we send out letters, we make phone calls, and we advise the offices that we received a complaint of unsanitary conditions. So we give them the opportunity to correct these procedures by sending us letters of corrections, and also taking pictures of anything that we noticed that came to our attention. And so they take pictures of it, and so we're doing that now. We're taking that into account. So then now moving to administrative and disciplinary action. So we have issued 32 citations between July 1st, 2020 and October 31st of 2020. And so some of these citations and examples that we'll give is not getting records on time within the 15 days that were requested. We issue citations for that. And then we issue citations for the lesser egregious cases that we receive for record keeping. So we'll do citations on that. We'll issue citations for, again, when we go back for licensing, not reporting a conviction within 30 days, that constitutes a citation. So those are some of the examples of the citations that have been issued. And then there's a total of 18 accusations that were filed with the Attorney General's office between July 1st, October 2020, and July 1st and October 31st of 2020. So currently right now, there was 31 cases that were transmitted to the Attorney General's office between July 1st in 2020 and October 31st of 2020. So these 31 cases that we transmitted is where we're requesting an accusation from the Attorney General's office for either a revocation, a suspension, and those are the accusations that we transmitted to the Attorney General's office. So currently right now, pending at the Attorney General's office, we have 112 cases that are pending there since for now October 31st of 2020. And I'll move into the total numbers of probationers that we have. Currently, we have 191 probationers. We have 163 active probationers and 28 probationers that are tolling. The 28 probationers that are tolling are out of state. And so therefore, we send out letters, to find out if they're in the state practicing, because if they are in the state practicing, then at that time they become an active probationer. So currently right now for the Sacramento office, we have 26 active probationers, 17 who are tolling. In the Orange Enforcement Office, where we have the highest number of probationers in Southern California, is 101 active probationers and 5 that are tolling. And here in the Investigative Analysis Unit, we have 36 active and 6 probationers. So again, 2018, 2019, when I get into the probationers, we had at that time, we had 47 that were tolling, and we reduced that to 28. And so what we did is we went back, started looking at those tollers, and started finding out that some of these tollers were in the state that were not practicing. And so we went back and to put them back into compliance. So we did that, and that's why we were able to reduce the tollers here in the enforcement unit. And so for the statistics, I kind of end there with probationers. So if anybody has any questions.
Carlos, any board members comment?
Dr. Stewart, you cut out. Did you have a question?
No, that's what I was asking. For board member comments.
Just for your information, apparently Dr. Lorenz got bounced out, so we're going to work to try to get her back on.
Any further board member comments? Thank you, Carlos. How about public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Our first request for comment comes from Dr. Bruce Witcher. Dr. Witcher, your microphone is unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Sorry to keep coming back. It's me again, former board member Bruce Witcher. This is actually a fascinating report. Let me just ask one question, if I may. I see investigative staff not being allowed out into the field, or inspectors. How about investigative staff?
So currently right now, all staff, so all investigative staff, inspectors are not going out to the field. And again, so what we had to do is we had to adapt to it. And so we started conducting more phone interviews. We started, communicating more via emails. And so now, so that kind of led into doing interviews with Zoom or WebEx. So we had to adapt, and so that's how we're conducting inspections now. So it's again, it's telephone, email, letters, and now Zoom and WebEx meeting.
Yeah, it's really remarkable how you've worked down your case numbers.
Thank you so much.
A lot from the desk as opposed to going out.
Yes.
So this is pretty amazing. I do notice that the total number of accusations filed doesn't seem to have gone down too much. I don't know what that was like last year, but 18 were filed this year. Of course, they're still piling up over at the Attorney General's office.
Yes, because last year we filed 12. So we filed 12 accusations last year. So we kind of increased that by 6. So we're at 18.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It looks like to me you've done.
You kind of broke off there, Dr. Richard.
What's that?
Oh, your last statement was didn't come through.
I'm sorry. I was just saying, it looks to me like you've been doing a lot of hard work to work down the case backlogs in spite of not being able to go out in the field. You're actually being more efficient.
Yes, and like I said, because there was a COVID crisis, we can't, go out in the field. Like I said, work continues, and like I said, we had to adapt, and it kind of gave us a little bit more opportunity again to sit down, since we're not going out in the field, to start looking at all the processes and prioritizing our investigations. So we kind of took that. We took that opportunity. Now that, like I said, that we're not going in the field, gives us more opportunity to sit here and start looking at cases, at a statistical standpoint.
Great work.
Time has expired.
All right, thank you. Any further public comment?
Seeing no additional requests for public comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
It is closed.
We will now move on to agenda item 13A, version program report and statistics. And can I ask the moderator, there's some noise coming through, and are you able to mute wherever that comes from?
Yes, this is the moderator. I'm going to ask a question. Carlos, can you unmute can you unmute just your microphone? Bernal, please keep yours muted at the moment. And can I ask, are the two of you sitting close to each other by chance?
No, we're not.
Okay, so Bernal, can you unmute your microphone now and let me see how that sounds? Bernal, can you speak for a moment?
Good morning.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. It seems to be when you both have your microphones open, there's a lot of feedback. So if we could possibly just make sure that only one of you at a time have your microphones unmuted. I'm not sure why they're playing off of each other.
Thank you, moderator. That's helpful. I will now ask Bernal Vaba, Mr. Vaba, Chief of Regulatory Compliance and Discipline, to present this agenda item 13A.
Hello. I am Bernie Vaba, Chief of Regulatory Compliance and Discipline. I will be presenting agenda item 13A, Diversion Program Report and Statistics. This memo provides the statistics for the month ending on July 31st, 2020 and October 31st, 2020. The statistics reflect the participant activity within the diversion program. In October, 1 case was closed and 8 participants remained in the program. Of the 8, 4 were enforcement referrals, 3 probation referrals, and 1 self-referral. The next diversion meeting is scheduled for January 27th, 2021. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have at this point.
Thank you. Any board member comments or questions? Seeing none. Any public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you would like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
We will now move on to agenda item 13B, Controlled Substance Utilization Review and Evaluation System Report. And I will ask Mr. Carlos Alvarez to present this agenda item.
Carlos, if you could just hold on for a minute so that we can make sure all board members are connected. Hold on, please.
Yes.
Okay, confirmed all board members are connected. Thank you.
Good morning. Carlos Alvarez again here to present on agenda item 13 on cures. So the Dental Board of California currently has 34,837 active licensed dentists. And so from our last meeting that we had with licensees who are now registered with cures, we have 110 new licensees that have registered since July of 2020. So as of October 2020, we have 15,949 licensees that have registered with cures. And as the cure usage as of September of 2020, these are the number of searches that licensees have gone into cures. And so in July, there was 5,961 searches. In August, there was 5,617. And in September, there was 9,678 searches. And the times that the system was accessed, that means how many times the system was logged into by a licensee. And so once you log on, they could do multiple searches. So it's more than, they could do one search or do multiple searches. So this is the time that they logged on. So for in July, it was 4,136. August was 3,657. And in September, there was 3,621. And the times that the help desk was called at the Department of Justice for cures. July, there was 85. August, there was 160. And in September, there was 133. Then with the number of prescriptions by schedule, With the Schedule 2s and the Schedule 3s, which have the highest potential for abuse, for Schedule 2s, there has been, from July to September, there has been a 12% reduction with the prescriptions for Schedule 2s. Schedule 3s, between July and September, there has been a 15% reduction on that. So that's really good news for the statistics that are in for September. So that completes my cures report. If anybody has any questions.
Any board member comments? Seeing none, any public comments?
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Enter "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists.
Member Burton, I see your hand up. Once we conclude public comment, I'll ask Dr. Stewart to come back to you.
Thank you.
Seeing no request for public comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
It is closed.
Let's go back to Ms. Burton.
My question, Carlos, is about the difference between the number of people registered in September 2020 and the number of dentists who are able to prescribe. What assumptions can we make about the difference in that number? That they haven't prescribed anything, or they just have not registered? Carlos?
I'm sorry. I started talking. I was still unmuted. Sorry. So some of these numbers have the licensees is some don't have a DEA license where they can prescribe, and they don't prescribe any type of prescriptions, any type of schedules, 2 through 5. And so those are some of the reasons. Or they have another licensee that's in the office that has a DEA license that is writing prescriptions as their patient of record.
Okay. That seems like 8,000, almost 9,000 is a pretty big number.
I'm not sure. This is Karen Fisher, Executive Officer. Ms. Burton, I'm not sure whether we can draw a direct correlation to the Drug Enforcement Administration of the number of California dentists that are able to prescribe, because we don't know whether that number includes people who have a California license but aren't in the state. And technically, yes, they should be signed up for cures, but if they're not practicing in the state, that may skew the numbers. But there is no way for the board to draw, essentially to match up who has a California license with who's actively practicing. We don't have that ability at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on, Carlos, with agenda item 13C, update regarding October 22, 2020 statewide opioid safety work group meeting.
Okay, so agenda item 13. So we had our first SOS meeting, and that was October 22nd of 2020 via WebEx. And so one of the first discussion was COVID-19. And so I kind of went around the room with all the participants in the SOS meeting, is how COVID changed in the work. And pretty much it was it was all the same with everybody across the board. It was now, support staff now teleworking, budgets going to PPEs now, social distancing. And the other thing was now, having meetings now with staff now that turned in-person meetings. Now they turned into Zoom meetings, WebEx meetings. So it was, again, everybody, had to change, how to adapt to teleworking. And so that was one of the challenges that that everybody faced. And like I said, so right now, the other problems, again, was with IT. Issues with the IT, with the computers, again, try to get the employees to get to Zoom and WebEx meetings, but that's all kind of under control. And so the other things that we came in was also for what are the some of the impacts of COVID-19 related to substance abuse disorders. And so one of the things kind of learning from this was some of the things that led to substance abuse disorders right now during COVID-19 is with, the stay-at-home orders, is that they're feeling isolated, they're feeling anxiety, stress levels with jobs. And so that was kind of things that was taken into account with the impacts of COVID-19. And so then also the California Department of Public Health, they introduced a new substance and addiction prevention branch that was established on July 1st of 2020. And the branch aims to reduce individual, social, and environmental harm from addiction and substance use through research, driven prevention, education, and treatment. And the substance and addiction prevention branch houses the below programs. And so they house the overdose surveillance and prevention. And what they do is they gather all the data. But so unfortunately the goal is for 2021 is to gather updated data, because it only kind of goes up to 2018. And so that's a goal for 2021 is to get more updated data. The other thing too is the cannabis surveillance system with cannabis education and youth prevention programs, and also with the Office of Problem and Gambling, because they kind of took into effect that all of these are disorders and they're addictions. And so with the cannabis education and youth program and the gambling disorder, what they do is patients or people could go and log on to the websites, get resources. They're able to call on their cell phone and talk to a counselor. They're able to text a counselor and have text messaging sessions with them. And they can also log on to a computer and have a chat with them as well. So these are some of the resources that they offer. They offer resources for parents as well to get them the help, the education to overcome these addictions and these disorders. And so the California Department of Public Health also introduced suspected opiate overdose and death detection pilot project. So this it's a surveillance project called Statewide Unintentional Drug Overdose System. And so what they want to do is they want to identify these patients who unintentional had a drug overdose. And so they want to get the information, and they want to get the information as to establish is, okay, why did they have an unintentional drug overdose? Is it because the prescription wasn't explained to them? They didn't understand the prescription. They didn't understand why they were taking it. And so they want to collect all this data to avoid this. And there's currently 31 participating California counties that are reporting on this system. And so one of the things is they have about 90% of drug overdose cases can be identified within 5 months from the date of death using the birth certificate and all the data that's been collecting. So basically what they want to do is they want to detect it, they want to report it, and they want to respond to it so they could enact measures promptly. And so the other thing too here, and I apologize, I put the goal of the project, actually, this is another pilot program, and I apologize. So the pilot program is suspected opiate overdose detection. So what they want to do again is detect deaths more rapidly. And so what they want to do is they want to collect data. They want to validate the data that is confirmed overdose. And they want to do this versus suspected. So they want to collect all the data right now, and they're collecting all the data from the history of opiate abuse, witness reports, autopsy findings, toxicology reports, and they want to report this. And again, they want to collect the data to confirm overdose cases versus suspected. And again, the overall goal here is to react on it, to detect it, respond to these things quicker, and get the resources out where it's needed in the state of California. So one of the things is by the winter of 2021, they want to have the measures effectiveness of the program. And again, that's collecting all the data, because again, all the data that we have goes up to either 2018 or 2019. So that is the goal right now, is to get more updated data. And so for our next SOS meeting is scheduled for February of 2021. And that kind of ends my presentation on the SOS meeting.
Thank you, Carlos. How about board member comments? I see Dr. Lai's hand up.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Hi, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well.
Thank you.
I have one question. In regards to the SOS work group, was there any conversation of distributing like Narcan to offices? Because I know, like, you know, when I purchased my health kit, there is there's Narcan in there. In San Francisco, there are organizations where you can go online and get a Narcan nasal administrable injection for, I guess, if you request it. So I don't know if there's any discussion of that as far as maybe supplying dental offices with Narcan. Was there any talk of that, in recognition of fentanyl overdoses and things of that nature?
Yes, and yes, in the past we did talk about Narcan. And so one of the things was with Narcan, the first ones that were receiving it were obviously the hospitals, the prison systems, and law enforcement were getting the Narcans. But there is where dental offices can obtain Narcan, but I would have to get you all that information so dental offices could get Narcan. But it has been discussed in the past, because like I said.
Great, Carlos, because I think that would be very helpful to at least stop the situation before it becomes a tragedy. Thank you.
Any further board member comments? Public comments.
This is the moderator. We have opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" into the Ask field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests for comment, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, and thank you.
It is closed.
Dr. Stewart, this is Karen Fisher.
Yeah.
I want to interject here. We are running a little ahead of schedule, so I was wondering if you would consider breaking for lunch at noon and coming back at 12:30, because I believe if we start the next portion of the discussion, we may run over baking at 12:30. So is it possible for you to consider breaking essentially now for half an hour?
I was going to ask that of you. And yes, I think this would be a good time to take a 30-minute break, get some lunch, and then we'll come back at 12:30.
Well, brilliant minds think alike, and this is what happens when you work closely with the executive officer. You get on the same page. So, thank you.
Thank you. Everybody get a bite to eat and move around a little bit. We'll see you in 30 minutes.